everybody. Welcome. We're here with the double words
Hello.
today.
Double words today.
Welcome. That's Mormon song if you don't know. So we're celebrating.
We just hit 100K probably this morning at some point. Actually, I know exactly when because we screen recorded it. It was a whole thing. And or was it?
That
Yeah,
was
that was yesterday. The
yesterday.
days just blur. Actually, we did a live yesterday too.
We did.
Yeah, the days just blur together. But yeah, this is kind of surreal for us, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely surreal. And although it takes a lot of hard work on both of our parts, and we'll go into a little bit of the behind the scenes of everything, we could not have done it without the brave survivors and you guys, of course, the advocates of these survivors who are coming forward and telling their stories because it is incredibly difficult to do. And this community that we have built is so beautiful. There are rarely any sort of negative comments. It's just such a safe space for these guests to come on. And that's one thing that we've heard from a few of our guests, right afterwards. They're just like, wow, your community is amazing because, it's the internet. It can get a little dicey and people can be mean. So we're just really grateful to you guys for all of your love and support because it makes the biggest difference when someone is considering coming on the show.
It's actually kind of surprising how many people are watching, tuning into these stories, just how little the negative comments are. So thank you. I know you say it at the beginning of every episode. Make sure to leave some words of encouragement for the guests. And you guys totally do that. You help create this space for us.
Yeah.
And but also I think it's a testament to you
Thanks,
and your
babe.
interviewing skills that people are into. It's we were talking about it the other day. It's this very interesting thing where it's almost like you're tuning into a therapy session, I would say.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it tends to be that. And I don't know, we've talked about it before, how I would love to be able to take some sort of classes or get some sort of training so that I can even better facilitate these conversations. But I always have to remind people I mess up sometimes. I'm not a trained therapist. I am also just a cult survivor who can come at these interviews from that perspective. And I think that's why it comes off as loving and compassionate, which of course I am loving and compassionate in general, but I understand what they're going through, and I've been on both sides of the spectrum when it comes to being interviewed, as far as when someone interviews me with the intention of kind of gawking at the trauma or like, oh, that's so funny, tell me about your traumatic past, versus someone who's genuinely interested and wants to dive a little deeper and basically go at it in a very compassionate way. And I know what the difference feels like. So that's why I'm always trying to relate to the guests and make them feel more open and safe, because that's worked for me in the past. When someone asks about my Mormon past and they divulge a little bit about their past and how they can relate, it helps me feel more comfortable that, oh, this person knows what I'm talking about, and they don't just think I'm crazy. And so I like to kind of bring that into the interviews, and I'm glad it's coming across that way.
And you do an incredible job. It's no easy feat. And as we talked about, and I think the very first live that we went, which is probably a few months ago, it's very, it takes a toll. It's very taxing on you. We have to edit these videos. They're very heavy. Like, for example, the one that is going to be up next, the Audrey, Sins of the Amish. It's a very heavy story. And Shalise is like, you're going to need to edit this one. And so it's definitely an endeavor that is worth the fight. There's a lot to it behind the scenes. And so I think that begs the question, did you foresee this when we embarked on this journey 14 months ago to the day, July 15th of last year? Did you foresee yourself becoming a therapist, a host, and a YouTuber?
No. I can't even tell you how much I didn't expect this to be a thing. I have been in many different career paths, but specifically I went to school for fashion design. And so I'm a costumer here in Los Angeles, where I work on TV sets, on movie sets, commercial sets. I design things, I make things, super random things. In fact, we'll get into Oscar's origin story in a little bit. He's sleeping behind me. But I've done that side of things, and then also the acting, which I think does aid in my ability to be on camera, having been in the acting field for like 10 plus years, doing a lot of commercial work and improv stuff. So I think that's beneficial. But if you would have asked me if I would ever consider having a YouTube channel, that would probably be like, no, because it seemed like something that was way too difficult to conquer. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know what I'm doing. I just, it's not something that I knew how to do. And so then when I met you, I was like, oh, wow, okay, maybe I can do this. And you kind of, I call him the engine behind C2C because he really pushes things forward. and
I
so
try. I
and
try.
so without your expertise on YouTube, I probably would have just been a regular podcast, hoping people listen
Yeah.
and never would have been where we are, which I have to acknowledge you guys in the chat. I saw Myth Vision. What's
It's right
up?
here.
You got him.
I got
You got him on the screen. Thank you, Derek. You've been an incredible support. And I have to give Derek a big shout out to because he is the type of YouTube friend that we just cherish because there's no air of competition, like trying to one up each other. He's always been very supportive. And from the beginning, he was like, you guys are going to kill it. And I saw one of his comments was like, I knew you'd make it 200K soon.
it.
So we really appreciate your support, Derek, and just being such a lovely YouTube friend. And we have many other YouTube friends out
Yeah.
there, which it's really nice to be able to collaborate with people and form those connections.
Yeah. I want to second that, Derek. I think you're an awesome human being, and we enjoy those last minute text calls like,
Yeah.
"Hey, how do you do this?" And it's right, it's reciprocated, and it's an interesting niche that we're in, I guess, the cultiverse, and
Yeah.
how everyone kind of treats it, and there's a lot of questions about how to go about YouTube as it pertains to this niche. But so speaking about YouTube and how to do YouTube, I feel like we need to start this live with what we're going to talk about today. Like what's going to kind of be the overall vibe of what we're going to address.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to get into a little bit of the behind the scenes because you guys really only see a very edited version, unless, of course, you're watching our lives. Um, and I'll get into what that means when I say editing, and also talk about what else do we say, babe? Behind the scenes. Obviously, our merch. We're really excited about that. We'll talk about what it was that pushed me to finally spend an entire day designing and uploading and creating this merch store. And we already have some orders, and I'm just like, oh my gosh! I keep checking it.
Guys, you
I'm
should
like,
have seen her all
Dave,
day today, just refreshing. We got another order. We got
we
another
got
order,
another
and
order.
rightfully deserved because you were at it yesterday, and I'm looking forward to telling that story about how that kind
Yeah.
of went down, and something that we've been meaning to do, and there's just so many facets to growing this thing that we're doing, and merch was one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably what this is all going to lead to, is the revealing of the merch. We'll kind of show you what we've been working on. But yeah, we just wanted to celebrate with you guys, take your questions, hang out with you, and tell some anecdotes.
Yeah, and that was pretty much it. And then just hang out with you guys if you have any questions that, about the show or about our process or about anything really, we're open to it. This is kind of the time to really go behind the scenes with us because we don't do this often. So if you have any questions, we're happy to get into that. So, behind the scenes, let's just jump in.
Yeah. So what facet of it do you want to go into, I suppose, first?
Well, I guess just illustrating just how much goes into each episode so that people know how much effort it takes and why when you comment and like and become a patron or supporter buy your merch, why that means so much to us because it really does give us the opportunity to do this full time through AdSense and through
And
Patreon.
that's kind of a big thing. So as of maybe 2 months ago, we've been able to become full-time YouTubers. I still have my DJ job. I still have my events. I've been contracted out for a year into the future. But that said, I tend to work my October. I think I'm doing like 13 different weddings. But
Mhm.
I talked to our company and was like, I'm only going to do 3 from now on. And point is, we are definitely like all steams ahead on, I don't know if that's the term,
Full steam ahead.
full steam ahead on YouTube, and telling these story, or having people who have these stories to tell come and share their stories, and doing everything we can to make sure as many people as possible get to see them and hear them.
Yeah, and also a little behind the scenes fact. Also, if you're new here, this is my husband. This is Jonathan. So that's how we're
Hey,
connected, by the
I'm
way.
that guy in the banner that's like,
Babe,
which I feel like we need to work on the
I
branding a
think you
little
look
bit still.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of a last minute ad, but yes, he is going to be joining more on the interviews, and we want to make sure we keep it's a tricky thing. I think sometimes when it comes to these traumatic stories, especially if they're women and they're speaking of SA or anything that is more comfortable to speak to another female about, those will stick to just me as the host. I wouldn't want to make them feel more intimidated. It's already scary coming on and talking to a stranger because honestly, I talk to strangers. They don't even really know me. We have one phone call prior and then they jump on and just tell me everything. So it is a lot. So when it comes to those, I will probably stick to being the primary interviewer, but when it comes to things that aren't as heavy and maybe aren't as difficult to speak on, we'll start bringing Jonathan on a little bit more, introducing him as a host because he has a lot of great things to offer and great insight as someone who's never been in a cult.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um, so, what I was going to talk about as far as another little insight is I don't know if you guys know this, but there's been a writer's strike happening in Hollywood, and that affects me and that affects the entire
Oh yeah,
industry.
this is kind of this is is this the exclusive?
What?
Are you going to talk about what the plan is?
One
I'm sorry. Go, you go.
I don't know what's the plan. We'll see where this goes. So I was basically full time doing wardrobe. So I was on set 10 to 12 hours, maybe 2, 3 times a week. It just depends. Sometimes I would get a show and I would be on it for 2 weeks straight. So it was a lot of time and effort spent there. So doing even one episode a week was a lot, you guys. I was like, oh my gosh, we could just, chugging along, just trying to keep going. And I booked out. That's what they call it when you tell your agents or you stop accepting work. So I told my acting agents I'm booking out, and I stopped accepting wardrobe work for our wedding, which was in April of this year. And right after the wedding, after we got back from the honeymoon, the writer's strike happened and nobody was working. Productions weren't going anymore. So I wasn't getting wardrobe work. And Jonathan at that time was like, babe, how about instead of one interview a week, we go to three? And I'm like, you are absolutely banana sandwich. That's never going to work. But because I wasn't working and the jobs weren't coming in, I was like, you know what? I actually have time. Maybe, okay, fine, we'll try it. And then that's when things really started growing.
I would say, just for some context, we were at 10,000 subscribers middle of March.
Right.
So yeah, there you
So
go.
obviously
It's
it worked.
working. Yeah.
And because of that, and by the way, the strike is still going on. So I haven't had a wardrobe job since April, which is crazy because I'm completely freelance. That was my only gig aside from acting every now and then booking a commercial or something. And so I would have been freaking out if I didn't have YouTube to fall back on and actually put all of my time and effort into. So that's kind of what I wanted to mention is the time and effort. How much time does it actually take to put out one episode when we're doing 3 a week plus lives? So when it comes to the pre-interview work, it could be anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, maybe watching their content if they've already shared their story somewhere, watching another interview they've done, or just jumping on the phone with them, to reading entire books, which could take, you know, 10 to 20 hours sometimes, watching documentaries. So that's the homework part of it. The actual interview, is about an hour and a half. There's a little buffer time in between. Sometimes we take little breaks. If the guest is having a particularly hard time speaking about something, I always give them time. Don't worry, you can pause. We'll edit all of that out so no one will know that you need some time and space. And I told them that ahead of time. We do edits, so if you flub something and you don't like the way you said something or it came across funny, feel free to stop yourself, restate. So they're feeling 100% comfortable with the way that they're presenting their story. So when it comes to editing, do you want to take up that one, babe? Talk about
Yeah,
editing?
editing. Well, let me put up this little I should have put it up for here we go. Here we go. Editing. Boom. Your editing is great, Jonathan.
Oh.
Just so you guys know, I'm not the only one editing. Shalise is also editing. I also have my other job. Editing. Well, I don't know. It's
We'll just talk about how long it takes, first
it
of
takes a
all.
long time. It takes probably 6 to 8 hours, I would say, any
6 to
given one.
12
6 to
even.
12 hours.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like Shalise is saying, there's a lot of trying to condense the fragment in sentences and where like the ums and that kind of stuff, but staying true to what the speaker is saying. So that's basically what it is. Keeping an eye out for what would make a good intro, I would say, is probably another thing. Um, yeah, there was one point where we were trying to figure out if they should be 2-hour episodes or closer to an hour. I think we put a poll out, and most people were pretty torn on it. But ultimately, we decided we're just going to do closer to one. I think we decided on an hour and a half. So that's kind of
Mhm.
like the goal now. There's something about that with people's retention, with actually watching the whole thing. But yeah, I would say the editing is the bulk of the work. So we've talked about potentially hiring out editors and let's just get more interviews. But the reality is that people probably still, even though it's pretty rudimentary as far as editing goes, there's not a lot of creative decisions to be made. There's still, I feel, coming from an editing background in film school and with a focus on editing, I feel like most people don't care as much as you do about the thing that you're making, the thing that you're putting out. So, I mean, we should probably try it, but I'm thinking that if we hired it out to editors, they probably still wouldn't treat each interview as preciously as we do,
Mhm.
because there's a reason why it takes 6 to 12 hours to put together an episode, which is really just condensing someone's story.
Right. Can I speak to that a
Yeah,
little bit? So I wanna make sure people know that we're not mincing words ever, ever, ever. We're never changing the flow of their sentence. We're not mixing and matching to make up a narrative that we want. When we say editing, it would be, for example, someone who, when I ask a question, they sit and they go, well, I don't know. Okay, this one time, and then we would start it at okay this one time. So you don't have to sit through
right.
necessarily the thought process, but we're not cutting out actual
Yeah.
content. Everything that goes in the episode is everything that they wanted to get across. We're just helping it come across in a little bit more concise way so it's a little bit shorter. It's an easier listen for everybody, and the guest can make sure that they can take their time answering the questions if they need to.
And that's ultimately what we want, is just something very slippery for you guys who are listening to go just kind of listen to the whole thing as if you are just being taken away in a current and there's nothing. We even cut out ums for the most part. I'm a little bit more particular
He's more
than
picky than I am.
Shalice's, but yeah. So there, maybe that's another point to bring up, and this is kind of what we're doing here with this back and forth two shot. Is
Yeah.
we basically have two shots to pick from. So why it doesn't feel as cutty is because there's also been people who have said, "Oh, I don't know how I feel about the going from shot to shot." Other people treat it as a split screen, but it would be cool if you did the split screen. But we're able to utilize cutting to a reaction shot to hide some of those cuts where we're cutting out dead space.
So it feels
Yeah,
good and
so
not like a YouTube-y kind of spastic,
jump
like,
cut.
jump cuts,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that was another thing to talk about while we're talking about like in the weeds behind the scenes stuff. So Shalise, when we were first talking about, so 14 months ago when she was going to put out her first episodes, we were talking about what these episodes could look like. And any podcast that I had seen, it was just important for me for this to be on YouTube and for the podcast and not just be audio, and for it to be a visual thing so that people can connect with Shalise and the speakers as well, the storytellers. But she was like, I want to just look straight into the camera the whole time. And I was like, wow, well, any podcast I've seen, you're kind of just observing the way you're looking at me right now. You're kind of just observing the person talk to the other person. But obviously, most of our interviews are remote. So it makes more sense for it to feel like
Like a FaceTime
like a
call.
FaceTime call or a Zoom call. But what ends up happening is something interesting, because there's almost like a first person and a third person going on. And anyway, we might have talked about this a little bit in our first live, but so I don't want to belabor the point. But I do think that there's something psychologically interesting about the two people that you're watching, that you're kind of the fly on the wall, listening into this therapy session or whatever we want to call this intimacy of these two people just connecting over someone's story, but them actually looking into your eyes. I think that there's something really interesting with that, that I think works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it works.
Yeah.
So I think that could also be a reason for our growth. Growth is our production value and the care that we put into all of this. You can't see it, but there's like 8 different lights in here, lots of gear. It probably looks like we're in a corner of our home, but this is actually an office building away, maybe 3 blocks away from home.
Not far. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's an actual studio, and it's it's definitely been great being able to expand into a space where we can just come in, flip on the lights, and everything's set instead of setting up in my bedroom like you noticed if you saw our previous episodes. Episodes what 4 through 50 were in our
Mm-hmm.
bedroom, and I
That's
would
right.
wake him up. I'm like, babe, I have to film. You need to move so I can make the
Yeah.
bed.
And also, I want to add that the set that you normally see Shalise with, that this is the second iteration, the second draft of that, because the bedroom, that's what we had. It was basically our interior design that you laid out at the time
Yeah.
of our bedroom. So we were just, how do we carry that over? Which is why you see these elements that you do, whether it's the color or the Montserrat plant.
Monstera.
Yeah. So yeah, that's some BTS, I would say.
Yeah, I think one more little story before we go into our merch is the story of Oscar Mayer Wiener. so,
Yeah.
so let me pull him on camera if you guys haven't seen him.
He's actually sleeping. He's an amazing dog. He is just love. All he wants is to snuggle and love, and he's the perfect channel mascot, I would say. Here we go.
Yeah. So this is Mr. Oscar Mayer Wiener. I don't know if you can hear me still. I met him when I was the dog costumer on a show called Mutt and Stuff on Nick Jr. It was my first TV job as a costumer. Yes, that's the mic. And his character was Cowboy. So every episode he wore a cowboy hat, and he was so cute. Anyway, I was on that show for 2 years, and the main characters were the animals. It was a preschool for dogs, so there was like 14 dogs. And I would miss the animals so much that I told the animal trainer who I became really good friends with, I was like, "Oh, I miss the animals." And she's like, "Just take one for a while. Take Oscar." I'm like, "Okay." And so over the years, the next maybe 5 years, every now and then I would just take him for a week or something because I was so busy with my other jobs that I couldn't leave him home. And then one time, it was during the pandemic actually, I was like, I feel like I want Oscar forever. He was coming to me in my dreams, and I was like, why do I keep thinking about this dog? And so, yeah, he's a sweet old guy. So it was right around the time that I started dating Jonathan, and so it was a little bit easier having help with Oscar. And eventually, Sarah is her name, the animal trainer. She was like, "Do you want to adopt him?" And we're like, "Okay." And so he's officially ours, but he still works. That's why I post some pictures of him sometimes on our Instagram. Like we found him randomly on Amazon. Actually, Nathan, his brother, was like, "I swear I saw Oscar on Amazon." I was like, "Oh, you did." He was with some puppy pads, and he does commercials and stuff still. So that's a story of Oscar. He is my little emotional
He
support
looks like he's
dog.
camera shy right now.
I know. Why is he hiding? He's like trying to lay on my chest. So anytime I get a little bit anxious, he senses it and jumps up on my lap and just lays there for the episode.
Yeah, so that's kind of a weird psychic connection that you guys have, where he senses Shalice's emotional state whenever she's recording. And
Mhm.
it used to be the case that he would come up just before an interview. He would always be sleeping somewhere in the corner of the room, and then once she started, cameras rolling, he would, all right, time to go hang out on Shalice's lap. So it was kind of one of these things where you realize at some point that, because you felt that he was being needy. Look at this little guy.
He is. There
You
you
felt
go.
like he was being needy, but really he was being an emotional support to Shalise. So it was like, it was kind of an aha moment. But now it's a case where he lets her do the interviews, and then he checks up with her at the end of each interview, which is interesting.
Yeah, and it kind of depends on the interview. Obviously, some are more difficult for me than others, emotionally speaking. Now he's just like laid out flat on my lap. So sometimes he jumps up and wants to be a part of the interview right away. Other times when I'm done, he'll walk up and be like, "Okay, how'd it go?" Like, check
Yeah.
in.
All right. So before we actually get to the merch, which is the climax of this live, um, um, let's answer some questions.
Okay. Yeah. Did you star some?
Yeah. So here we go. This is a good one.
No, it's just us.
Yeah.
Just Jonathan and I. So we do everything from finding the guests, reaching out to potential guests, all of that correspondence, which is why, you guys, I'm so sorry. I'm the worst at emails. I have like 100 emails that I want to respond to because you guys are just bearing your souls to me, and it's so amazing and awesome. And I just haven't been able to sit down and respond. So please forgive me for that. So, yes, we do everything. We do the editing, the marketing. I set up the merch on my own. Jonathan helped with that too. And yeah, it's just us. So it is a lot, but I think eventually, like Jonathan said, we may contract out some of the editing.
Yes. One of the things that we can't wrap our heads around are clips. We had some editors that were just doing clips because we know how important that is as far as the other platforms. That's something that we definitely can't do as far as workload goes. So that's our next job, is to enlist someone to help us with the clips for sure.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
So there's another one. And I think you should answer this one, Shalise. Question: Can you explain the "don't put a lemon on your ass"?
Yeah. Do we want to segue into the merch? Because that kind of is. So I had on my two cousins, my cousin and her daughter Keely went on a mission, and she had this horrible experience. What's the episode called? The Tragic Side of a Mormon Mission, if you want to look it up. So anyway, when she was on her mission, I wish I remember where she was. Was it Honduras?
Yes, I think so.
Was it, or did I just make that up? Argentina.
Or
Honduras was Irene. Yes. Sorry. Anyway, she had horrible back pain. It was just this domino effect of horrible thing after horrible thing, and she was just getting really bad advice, and the mission presidents weren't taking care of her properly, really weren't helping her at all. They just, when she was coughing up blood, they're like, pray about it. And she's like, what? So anyway, one of the doctors that she went to, I guess, was just not really up to speed, and he told her to get rid of her debilitating back pain. She couldn't walk. He said, slice open a lemon and put it on your butt. And she's like, what? But she tried it. And so she sent a picture to her mom, who was also on the podcast episode. And she was like, look, mom. And Colette, the mom, was like, what? And so Keely's Linda
she was
listened.
Livid. She was, what? How is this
treatment?
How is this treatment? Yeah.
And how, like, even if this doctor, which clearly he didn't know really what he was talking about, and we've had people comment, this is not the standard of care for this area. So I don't really know how she ended up in this guy's hands, probably because no one was stepping in and helping her. She had to figure it out on her own with the help of one person from the church. Anyway, her Linda Listen was, don't put a lemon on your ass. So we made a t-shirt, and it's already sold. One of them already sold. I was so happy.
So I think that's something that's interesting. Yeah, I don't want to segue yet, but we're going to get back to the quotes that are found within each of these interviews and how that'll relate to our merch. I think this is a good segue to this question. Jonathan, what was the most moving or interesting story or cult that you've heard through Shalise's interviews? Hey, Alex, good to see you. Yeah, hey, Alex always joins us on these lives. I would say it's the Children of God episode, the one with Daniela Mestenik Young. I think I said her name right. That was the first one for me where, so Children of God, it was in the 60s, I believe. It was the Power Flower Child movement. And they took purity culture, the leader, and flipped it on its side. Hey, how about instead of no sex, it's all sex, and which is the focus. Still Christian-based, fundamentalist-based, but God is love, and love is sex. Therefore, we should have sex with everyone. And guess who that includes? That was a really rough one to hearing her story for me. It was one of those where it was very palpable, and it really stuck with me for a long time. By the way, since then, there's been countless stories that have affected us in that way. But that was the first one for me where I was just like, geez, this is really rough. Hearing how Daniela was brought up, because she was raised in that cult since she was a kid. So, and it's, when it's all you know. So that one I would think probably resonates the most with me. How about you with you?
Yeah, I just want to add quickly that Daniela wrote an amazing book called Uncultured, and that was probably, you know what, I think that actually triggered our first live, because I was so affected during the editing and listening to her book because of my own childhood trauma that I just was having a breakdown. I was like, oh, I learned later that it was basically a 4-hour panic attack while I was editing. So, yeah, really, really rough story. Incredible the way she's turned out now. She's just graduated from Harvard, like doing amazing things. So, I also wanted to mention that we're having on another guest from the Children of God, Faith Jones, and
Yeah.
we're connecting with her in the next couple weeks. But let's my most moving it's so hard to pick, honestly, because I really connect with these people on such a deep level. And I learn something from everybody. So I really don't even know if I could pick. I think one of the more fun ones, as far as I felt like I was gobbling up all these golden nuggets, was with Irene from Irene's Entropy. She was probably because she was also Mormon, the mainstream Mormon. And so we really connected on that level. And she brought a lot of insight into the what was it, mental manipulations or
Mm.
Mormon manipulations. And I just thought that was really fun back and forth. But there's been so many. Amanda Ray, I mean, everybody.
Yeah. And I mean, not only is it affecting us, but there's also, we're learning so much, especially you, because you're really active listening and tuning in. If I'm not editing an episode, I watch every episode. So I'm definitely all caught up on the channel as a whole. But yeah, I mean, there's so many patterns. I think that's something that people really resonate with this channel is they grew up in some kind of form of a cult, even if it was just the family cult with the father as the head of the household, the narcissism cult, which we just did kind of an episode about that. But I think for people, it's being able to relate to, hey, I didn't grow up in the cult that you grew up in, but I'm able to see the connection, the
Mm-hmm.
correlation. And we having the overview of all of these guests, it's so easy to see the patterns. It's becoming much more prevalent being able to see it. So there at some point we realize, oh wow, we're essentially an advocacy channel for women and children, because
Yeah.
that's who it turns out gets abused the most.
Yeah.
And it's just these men that want power, and they use the name of God, however
Yep.
that is defined, to yeah, to abuse that power, for
Yeah.
lack of a better word.
I think we should move on to merch.
Merch. Okay. Yeah.
So, here's a comment here. So, it all started because, well, I've been wanting to do this for a while. As you know, it took me 100,000 subs to actually do it. But we were doing an episode with Asami, who was trafficked by her own mother, another devastating episode with an amazing redemption story. She's one of our guests. It was like 2 videos ago, so not that long ago. You can go check it out. So at the end, she was talking about how it was so therapeutic to just swear because she grew up not being able to swear. It was not a thing. I grew up in the same way. Even swearing now still feels a little odd to me, but
Yeah.
I'm getting there.
Let's see, baby, swear.
I will in a second. So, so she said there was a moment where she finally let herself feel the anger because feeling anger was also something that she wasn't allowed to do in this family cult that she was in with narcissistic parents. And at one point after therapy, I think it was after therapy, she just went into her room and just screamed at the top of her lungs, "Fuck you, mom," like over and over again. And she's like, "It felt so good." And then I prayed after. And I was just like, "Yes." And she goes, "Balance," something like that. And I just thought that is such a funny thought. That should be a t-shirt that says, "Fuck you, amen." And I was throwing it out as a joke, and we've got like 40 plus comments that were like, "I want that t-shirt." And I was like, the people have spoken. And so I spent all day creating a whole bunch of different types of designs of that t-shirt. And I was just like, all right, now's the time. I need to put some time and effort into creating a bunch more merch. And so the funny thing though about that whole line is the ones that aren't censored, where it says the whole word, YouTube didn't let it through the YouTube store. So you have to go to Cults to Consciousness After Dark. No, it's just cultstoconsciousness.com. You can click on the merch tab and click the button that says click here to shop. And then it'll take you to the full merch site where everything is listed. So that's what lit the fire under my ass. Look at me go to do the
Yeah. There you
merch.
go. Really quickly, someone's in the chat here that I want to shout out. Claire Headley.
Claire!
Hey.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
That's so nice. I
Yeah.
appreciate you stopping by. Claire has been a reoccurring guest. How many times? 4 times?
5
times?
videos total, I think.
She's killing it.
I think. Yeah.
Anyway, she's from Scientology, and she gave us incredible insight on the Danny Masterson case, where she was an expert witness in talking about the harms of Scientology and why the victims didn't come forward sooner, or they did come forward within Scientology. Scientology didn't report it. Anyway.
All right. So let's
do you want to show them the website?
Yeah, let me share the screen.
We're going to show you our merch store and go over just a few of the things and some of the meanings behind them.
Boom.
All right.
Okay, so I think it was important for us to have some taglines, some channel taglines, but then also kind of get silly with some of these quotes that we're finding in the episodes. So as far as some of the taglines, well, where do we even start, Shalise?
Well, first I'm going to drop a link to our store in the chat because I feel like that's so important.
This is a great one. And Cats News always brings this one up. She comments every video. I think she's Cat Brown. Yeah.
Huge shout out.
So it's always break the silence, break the cycle. I also think that might be a slogan for a group, a nonprofit, or maybe I think it might be a women's domestic violence group, if I'm not sure. So, but we love it. We stand behind it.
Yeah.
So that is something that we would love to be one of our channel taglines. So Cats News, thank you for that.
And we put it on a t-shirt too.
Yes.
I think there's 2 different options.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Oh, yeah. Spotlight. So can you scroll down a little bit, actually? Oh, someone mentioned in the chat that you wish that channels had bigger mugs. That was actually an option. They were a little bit more expensive, but I guess I can add it. So remind me, babe, to add that to the...
Well, there's a 15-ounce here.
Oh, it does show? Oh,
15 ounce? That sounds pretty big to me.
Oh.
But maybe we did, yeah.
So maybe it's already on there.
Okay, so I think this is cool. I think just the regular channel logo,
yeah,
Cults to Consciousness.
So we're calling the basics.
So this is, I picked myself up one of these yesterday. It's really cool how they do it too with these merch sites where, yeah, they could just bring
Cat's here. Cat Brown is here.
But yeah, I think this hat's pretty cool. I don't know.
There's different colors too, right? Oops. Or in a different hat, there's different colors.
Yes, exactly. Is there?
So maybe not on that one because of the light. No, not on that one. But that is something I want to mention. So on the YouTube store, it doesn't let you show all the colorways of something. So we just had to pick one. So that doesn't mean that that's all that's available. Just click on it and then go to the full website where you can see all the different color options. Most of them are like in the gray color scheme because that's kind of our brand, but we do have a couple of blues. We added some reds. Yes. So those probably won't show on the YouTube store because we can also only have a limited amount on the YouTube storefront.
So this is another...
Yeah, you guys know if you watch the show, follow your highest excitement, be conscious, and be well.
There it is. Yeah. So this is another one that I think is probably the second of 3 channel slogans. I clicked on it because I thought this was the one with multiple colors. Do you remember the one that had different colors?
That one that you're... Yeah, so go to the white one. It looks really nice with the white.
Boom.
Yeah. So that's one of our major ones. And then and also they go up to 5XL in certain colors. We can't control the sizes. These are all basically drop ship. So print on demand, we're kind of at the mercy of this company, whether something's in stock or not. So
this is cool.
Yeah, I just saw someone say cool. There's a Linda Listen.
just that. Yes, Linda Listen.
Linda Listen.
That's awesome.
So for those of you who don't know, that's a segment that we do every show where it's based on that little sassy toddler who is, you know what, someone said something recently that was just it blew my mind a little bit, and I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner, because Linda in Spanish is also
Linda.
like
Well,
pretty, right? Calling
yeah,
someone Linda.
or nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because the little toddler in the video is like, "Linda, honey, listen." I was I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner. They were like, "Oh, I don't think the mother's name is Linda. I think he's just calling her like pretty honey." And then it
That would
did
be
you already know
cute. That would be
that?
cute, but no, I think that's her name.
You think her name's
He's like
Linda?
flat out like Linda. Yeah, no, it's a thing. It's a for
Well,
sure a thing.
unless that's like a little back and forth that they do, like she calls him
Yeah, that's
honey and
true.
he calls his mom
That
Linda.
would
I don't
be
know.
that would
But
definitely be way more optimistic than him calling his mother by her first name for sure.
exactly, yeah. So anyway, the whole point is sometimes when you're in a high control group or cult, you are talked down to all of the time. Your voice is taken away, and this toddler is basically like, "No, you're going to listen to me." And so it's kind of a moment where we can say, "No, you're going to listen to what I have to say." And I love the sassy ones, but sometimes we go inspirational with it too. So that's what that is.
So this one's probably one of my favorite ones. So as you're noticing, there's this like it's called the minimalist
Minimalist,
collection, which is
yeah,
just sayings. But
simple.
I'm sorry for what I said when I was on a cult. I don't know where
Mhm.
that came from, but
I
I
can
think
tell
that's
you
a
where it
good
came
where
from.
to come from.
So it's a common thing among the ex-Mos, the ex-Mormons, to say, "I'm sorry what I said when I was Mormon," because, we've said some really embarrassing things. Um, I won't even go into that. You guys can watch the
Ooh,
episodes. What?
we were supposed to do your Mormon is
Your Mormon
showing.
is
That's
showing.
a good one.
Yeah, so anyway, I thought it would be funny to just blanket all of them and say cult instead of Mormon, so anyone could enjoy it. And there's one that I like even more and that we can show a little bit later that has pretty cursive design that's a little bit more girly. These are
So
kind of more
so
gender neutral.
yes, this is the minimalist section. This is like the overall C2C brand stuff, which actually we kind of glossed over this hoodie that we added, which is pretty cool. Oh, you could do different colors on this one as well. I think I'm gonna get one of
Oh,
this
the
color.
hoodies.
Yeah, the maroon one. But yeah, hoodie weather's coming up.
Yeah, we're gonna add some more hoodies.
This is a pretty cool beanie. All right, but
Let's go to the other
yeah, let's go to the other collections.
the other
Here, you lead the way.
sections. Yeah, can you scroll down a bit, babe?
Yeah.
So hold on, start right there.
Again, you were up all day. You just yesterday you devoted to making this happen.
Yeah, my brain hurt quite a bit by the time I went to bed at midnight because I just wanted to find something that was fun and interesting and also give some options because when I talked about the FUT shirt, I didn't have anything in mind and I didn't know what people were envisioning for it. So I kind of did a bunch of different options. This one that we're showing now is definitely the most popular being ordered, or I call it the ransom note. So there's two versions. Can you click on one of them, babe?
Yep.
So this version is not censored. That's the one that YouTube did not approve to be on the store because
Oh,
they said nothing sexual allowed. So that's if you want the uncensored version, go to our merch store. There's a couple different colors in the gray colorway. Yeah, the hats. And then scroll down to the other ones that didn't make it onto the YouTube store.
oh yeah.
The smiley face I really liked because it's just cheeky and funny, I think. And there's tons of different colors. So can you click on some of the colors and show them what it looks like? Just like, sweet and happy, but also fuck you.
Prism Peach.
Prism peach.
All right.
Yeah. And then
This one didn't make it on the YouTube store, huh?
no, because it's not censored.
Got it. So, and again, if you want to go to the full store, you can basically click on any product on the YouTube store and it'll say go to fourth wall, which is where we have actually Claire, you're the one who let us know about
Yeah.
that as far as connecting it. But you can also go to our about section and there's a merch link tab.
Yes. And then someone asked if we could do Cults to Consciousness plus FU Amen together. I think maybe write in the chat because I want to make sure I understand if you want the logo on it as well as the FU and which one you mean. Because there's a bunch of different options. So maybe let us know if it's the tall and skinny letter one or the minimalistic one or the ransom note one. And if that's what you mean, or if you mean order two separate, which is also a possibility.
This is cool.
Yeah. So apostates unite is something that I just found myself saying all the time. Like when someone's like, hey, ex-Mormon here, and I would always respond with apostates unite. I found it's something that is not specific to Mormonism, but it is very heavily talked about within Mormonism. Anyone who leaves the church is an apostate. So I know Scientology does it too. Um, who else does it? Probably a lot of other Christian groups. So I just thought that was a fun one. And
Talk about this one. This is interesting.
yeah, we go to a different color. That wasn't my favorite color, but it doesn't let you order it or like change the order. So I was just thinking the whole purity thing is so irritating. And we did a whole episode with Kendra on it. And I just hate it so much. So I thought crossing out the impure, which basically they call everyone impure these days, and making it I'm pure. So yeah, I just thought that was a
Yeah,
nice
very clever.
a play on words and something where you can really take back the meaning of the word and cross it out.
Love it. Love it. And then this is a new addition. I haven't even seen this one.
I just added that before we came over to the studio.
Nice, babe.
Wiener fans. That's Oscar.
There you go.
That was
Let's see.
actually taken at work. I took him. I used to work on Raven's Home, the Disney show, and I would take him to work, and he would just sit there and stare up at me because he loves to cuddle. Anytime I'm sitting down, he wants to be on my lap, and so he was just looking up at me, and I snapped a picture, and it's probably my favorite picture of him. So if you're a
Yeah.
Wiener fan,
And maybe, so is this the last one we'll show? Is this one?
yeah. So that's the cursive one that I told you about that I liked with the little heart. I'm sorry for what I said when I was in a cult with different color options.
There you go.
So,
So feel free to shop on your own and check it out on your own. It's yeah, it's something that we just did. And let me stop sharing the screen here.
oh yeah, someone's saying we should put our logo on everything, maybe the sleeve. We considered that. I guess it's kind of tricky, and I guess the point of merch is to promote the channel. However, and maybe this is the fashionista in me, I I hate when things are branded. I'm not typically the person to wear something with a fatty logo on it. That's why I kind of wanted to do the shirts where if you want to promote the channel, that's what it is on purpose. So I kind of wanted to create something that you could wear out anytime and it wouldn't feel odd or weird having a logo somewhere. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me and maybe you guys wouldn't mind it, but that's why I didn't put logos anywhere. I just did the simple stuff.
Yes. Cool. I'm just sorry. I'm just going through
Oh,
comments
dog
here.
merch. Oh, I wonder if they have dog. Oh, oh wait, go back. Wait, sorry. Where is it? Um, you can go if you want to say something. Let me find it.
Stickers. Yeah, that's another. Here, I'll let you. So anyway, as far as the merch goes, yeah, you're helping us as we preface this whole conversation with. We are attempting to, or Shalise already is there. I'm transitioning into full-time YouTube. We want to give our all to this cause, to helping people tell their stories. It's a lot of work, everything that goes into it, research. We talked about the editing. It's an emotional toll, and we couldn't be happier. We love what we do. I
Yeah.
asked you when we first started this live, do you ever think that you would be a content creator, a YouTuber, or that you'd be holding space like this for people? You said no. But the smile at the end of the night, guys, from Shalise is just, she's beaming every night because it feels very fulfilling doing what we're doing. You know, today we're celebrating our 100K mark. That also feels very validating, and that people are on board with what we're doing. And yeah, so the fact that you're helping us when you do comment, and like we said, is super positive, or when you do become patrons, thank you so much for that. And now the merch. So thank you so much.
Yes, I agree. It's so amazing to know that there's people out there who really want to support the channel and support us in our mission and help us continue to do this as a full-time job so that we can put out more stories and we can create more awareness and devote more time to this, which like we were saying, there's a lot that goes into it, but at the end of the day, it's so rewarding when we see your comments about how it's helping you, or how you sent it to someone who maybe needed it, or how it changed your perspective and how you interact with people who are still involved in these groups. I just think that's really amazing to know that it's making a difference, and it makes it all worth it. And I just had to say the no shame shirt should be a crop top. Yes, of course. Of course. I don't know why I didn't think of that. They have crop tops and they even have bikinis. So maybe I'll get spicy and do some stuff there. Again, this was everything I could come up with in a day and make happen in a day. So always check back. I'm sure I'm going to be thinking of new stuff and updating it, and especially with those quotes. So there was one we didn't talk about from Amanda, don't boink your sisters. That
Oh
was
yeah.
one of our
Oh yeah.
funniest Linda listens, because in her fundamentalist Mormon polygamist cult, her dad is married to his half sister, and it's very common and incestuous and really gross. So that was her Linda listen, and that's why we put it on a t-shirt. And I sent it to her before we went live, and she's like, I'll take 12. She's really funny. So
Someone wants to know if we
yes.
ship worldwide.
Yeah, so Fourth Wall has locations and warehouses in the US and in Europe. So I believe it ships everywhere. And
Yeah,
a
I
few
agree.
other places too. And so, yeah, I would just go on and check the shipping. There was a few people, we had some back and forths on if we should put our logo. Maybe it's somewhere small. Maybe we could do something
Mm-hmm.
like that
Mm-hmm.
that's not our logo, but just has Cults to Consciousness.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's options.
Yeah. There's a super chat here, which we want to thank you so much.
Oh, super chat.
Piglet9944. Your channel has helped me in deconstructing from Christianity. I also listen to CDC at work to help me with my anxiety. Thank you all for what you do. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for letting us, and especially Shalise, be part of your life. You know, that's really what it
Yeah.
is. You're connecting with people, babe. As far as like in a real way, they get to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool, and I feel honored that people want to spend time and hang out with me and put me in their ear while they're going about their day. It really means a lot, and I always do my best to make sure I say things the right way and I don't mess anything up. I always, I make mistakes, so I appreciate you guys giving me some grace on that, and just for supporting, even if you're not spending a dime on the channel, if you are just watching those videos, it's incredibly helpful, so we appreciate all of you.
Yes. And thank you for all of the well wishes and the congrats.
Thank you, Bonnie. Yay! And I've already seen some people, the chats are like going pretty quick, but I already saw some people saying that they purchased some things. Thank you so much. I can't wait to look at the app and see what you guys bought. I think that's my favorite part, when I'm like, we got a new order. What did they get? Because I just want to know what people are
Yeah,
responding
for
to the
sure.
most.
For sure.
So, yeah.
All right. Shall we sign off with that?
Yeah, I think we should sign
Did you get
off.
everything off of your chest that you wanted to? Because I know, again, it was a really exciting day for you yesterday.
It was. Oh my gosh, look who is here. Aaron,
Hey,
what's
Aaron.
up?
If you guys have not been tuning in, you're missing out. He has been delivering some amazing coverage on the Danny Masterson trial and everything
Oh yeah,
post. And
in depth.
but also, I'm pretty sure, because we keep tabs on you, Aaron, that you're about to hit 200K probably in the next couple of days. So congratulations to you, good sir.
Yeah, your channel is blowing up and we could not be happier for you. So congrats on that. And again, thank you for all of your coverage. Whenever we go live and talk about Danny Masterson, we always check in with what you're doing, make sure we have the facts right, and always tell people to go check out your coverage because it's so in depth and so detailed. So keep doing what you're doing.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I think that's about it, guys. I was like, babe, we can get on for like 15 minutes. It'll be fine. And it always takes longer. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in and hanging out with us and supporting us and liking our merch. And we're gonna just keep going, keep adding more stuff as we go.
Keep fighting the good fight. And also, if you guys have any ideas, or you guys are our bouncing board, and we've had some amazing guests because of your requests. So people that you see their stories are coming up on social media or wherever that it resonates with you for whatever reason, please continue to send them our way. And if you feel like you have a story, we do have a form on our about page where you could submit. There's an application process. But yeah, please, we want to keep doing this and keep going forward. So, and thank you guys again.
Yeah, thank you so much. We have one more really sweet comment from Sandy. I see you commenting often, and I appreciate you. Thank you, Sandy. Shalice, you are so amazing and empathetic to on your interviews. I love you and Jonathan so much, and I have the greatest respect for you both. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So I think that's about it. Again, thanks for tuning in. Check out the merch. I actually linked it in the description. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. It'll help the algorithm too. And until next time, follow your highest excitement.
Be conscious and
Be well. We didn't plan that, I swear.
bye, guys.